For over 30 years, we've had the privilege to live and work in this great community. Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson, representing accident victims across Northwest Florida.
And now, from Pensacola, Florida, it's Within Reason with Bob Kerrigan and Bill Rankin.
Well, good evening, Bob Kerrigan.
And Bill Rankin.
Here Within Reason, responding to issues of the day, talking about what you find most interesting. Well, not really.
Well, no.
Well, we find most
we hope you find some of it interesting.
But we say that you find this interesting, so that gives us a basis to kind of say what we think is interesting, which leads me to what you think is interesting.
Something I think this is very interesting.
Okay.
A couple of the things that I first found out from you on this show have now made it into the popular discourse through the News Journal. I mean, long time ago. First of all, last time we were on, we talked about gallery night. Gallery night had kind of an abrupt end because the Downtown Improvement Board was giving all the money to their staff and really couldn't afford to get the proper insurance or whatever they needed. And then you talked about how wrong it was for the mayor, who was a little critical of those tactics, to be described as disheveled when he was down there with his family and other public officials.
The best quote yet from the police department was, he almost hollered at us. Almost hollered at us. And I think some people felt like their feelings might have been hurt. I think that's kind of what's at the core of this, is hurt feelings. This
from the policemen who are dealing with the worst in society. The drunks, the criminals, the misfits.
And so
I can't be a policeman if somebody's almost going to holler at me. The truth is, we've got a very good police department in Pensacola, but some of the things that the leaders of the union people are doing to advance their side in the pension dispute are just wrong, and it's our opinion that their whole side in the pension dispute is just wrong. It's killing the city. We can't afford it. We'd love to have you guys make more money and have, really super generous pensions. We cannot afford it.
Well, we're hearing now from some of the pensioners, people who have earned their pensions and are depending on their pension checks. They are not happy with the union overreach, and that's really boiling now. So you have police retirees who are upset that in the news all we are hearing about are these overreaches by the pensioners. And it's not the pensioners that are overreaching, it's the current union wanting more benefits. I'm talking about big bonuses for everybody, and the city just doesn't have the money. And more important, Bill, if the city was to pay bonuses, they should pay them to everybody, to the firemen, to the police, to all employees, especially employees who have been there a long time and have earned it. You just can't award money based on one of three unions. There's three unions, as you know.
Well, no,
because you're on that pension.
There's the general employees, the fire, and the police. And actually, within the police, there are kind of subsets.
Three unions within the police department.
The police.
Yes. So one of the unions within the police department apparently is pressing this on. Now, a lot of this is not public. People don't know this. The public is not aware of kind of these negotiations. Always have two sides. So we're not saying that the union's totally wrong or that management's totally right. But when you use a public event like Gallery Night that was completely mishandled by the DIB, that's the core problem here, the DIB mishandled it. When you use that as a vehicle, then to say that the mayor's response was inappropriate, he's speaking on behalf of these thousands of people who were at Gallery Night. He was down there with his family. What is this? He appeared disheveled. I'll tell you, if it was me, I'd appeared ballistic with what was going on down there. And it's not the police department's fault. They get an order. The streets have to be cleared at 9 o'clock. What are they supposed to do? It was incompetence at the DIB, which is a very good reason that we should eliminate the DIB. This should be run by the city.
Well, the News Journal said that the functions of the DIB could be handled by a clerk in an office at City Hall.
No question about that.
And one of the things that's going on is this, and this hasn't got really so much to do with the police as the unions. There's a great argument. Look, I've been a policeman for 20 years. One of the things I was promised is a pension. I've perhaps taken lower pay. I do this difficult job to get a good pension, and I was promised a pension. Okay, you get your pension, but the new people coming in who know exactly what they're doing, they're in a different system.
Yes.
Oh, we can't have that. Well, wait a minute, you're representing these people who haven't even showed up?
You mean the union is saying that they represent people that aren't even police officers yet?
Well, they can't say that they actually represent the people who don't exist, but they're representing their interests in not wanting to have a pension that cuts out the new hires.
That makes no sense at all.
Sure it does. If you're the union and you want to go on and get union dues.
But isn't that disloyal to their current members?
You would think.
Because
that's why there is some dissatisfaction among the various groups.
Why are they pressing so hard, Bill, to speak for people who haven't even been hired, who would be a perfect fit in the state retirement system?
Anybody who gets hired is not the object of a broken promise. This is the deal. When you come in, this is the deal. You're in the state retirement system. You get this, you get that. This is the pay. And do you think they'd have a hard time finding good people to take it? I don't think so. Well, now, they make an argument, well, other departments are more generous or so forth or so on. I don't think so. I think the current scheme for Pensacola police pension benefits is extraordinarily generous.
Well, aren't new employee hires for the city generally, aren't they going into the state retirement system?
Yeah, because it's the city pension plan for the general employees, that's anybody but police and fire, is closed.
But
they go into the state retirement system.
I heard that the firemen were in agreement with that they would do it, but that they have to be in union in concert with
That's what I heard.
So it's not the firemen.
Well,
now we're down to one union within the three unions within the police department.
I think that's the way we hear it. Yeah, and they're holding everything up, and they may be overestimating the public support. They may be overestimating their ability to club politicians into doing what they want, because people generally have had enough of overreaching public sector pensions.
Well, one of the union representatives said something like, "We've been disrespected." What is by who? And what does that have to do with wanting more money?
Yeah, they wanted to get rid of the representative of the city's office because we were disrespected because we didn't get what we wanted.
Well,
I'd love to be able to fire all the good State Farm lawyers because they're just not giving me what I want. And if you want a Christmas card from me, you better send me some lawyers who are more compliant and giving me more of your money. I'd do it if I thought it would work. I don't think it'll work.
Everybody admits that is halfway knowledgeable about the city's structure is that between the city and county, when things were riding high, and we'll get to George Tuart in just a minute, they spent money like drunken sailors. They all did. They rewarded themselves excessively, gave themselves huge bonuses that factored into their pensions that some of these retired city executives are now getting. One retired city manager is getting $100,000 a year. It's like, no, there was just no end to the money. They had endless amounts of money. Now, however, it's all come out that we can't afford it. This pension thing is a long-term proposition. Bill, you spent all that time on it. We have to address this as a municipality. We just cannot pay it.
I honestly think Mr. Penzone, who's been helping the city free of charge, he's an accountant, he's very knowledgeable, but I think he would agree with me. It's an existential threat to the city. It's going to suck up all the things we want to advertise when people move here. We've got good parks, we've got good streets, we've got this and we've got that. It's all going to go away if we have to spend all of the taxes we collect to stick into the pension plan.
Well,
that's what we're doing.
What's been very successful in terms of public relations is and the sheriff does it all the time. Well, do you want one less patrol car in your neighborhood? Do you want to, when you get a call, do you want to have to wait 5 minutes? Or do you want somebody there in a minute and a half? These are all fair statements of a trade-off between staffing and response to emergencies, but when they're presented as a threat to the community, your safety is at risk unless you give me what you want. We've had that up to here. We don't need those kinds of statements anymore. We need to hear, how can you cut back and provide the same level of public safety? And don't tell me you can't do it. Everybody can do it. You can do it if you want to do it. I
agree. You can do it. Yeah, it's always, whatever you like the most. Oh, we're going to have to close the parks. Oh, you know that policeman you're on? No policeman. There is some fat that can be cut. There's always fat that can be cut. And we just have had enough of people retiring, pulling down more money than they made when they were working. It happened a lot at the Pensacola Police Department. It doesn't happen very many other places. Maybe some of the highly paid executives for some of the biggest companies, but otherwise it just doesn't happen. So, well, it's a problem we've inherited, and the mayors inherited it, and our city council have inherited it, and to an extent, we're going to talk now about the county commission. That is a dysfunctional bunch of wackorinos, okay? Here's the best quote from the Valentine. He says, what we're going to do is we're going to fire this good administrator that we have, and we're going to bring in our buddy, we'll talk about that in a second, and then we're going to hunt for a world-class administrator. Are we going to bring one from Europe? What are you talking? What person in their right mind would want to work for these people other than Grover? I mean, how in the world could you work for people who do this irrational stuff? It's just wacky. And Valentino saying, we're going to go find us a world-class administrator. Well, you had a real good one, and you fired him because he didn't do what you wanted him to do. That's a fact. Read the comments. When Mr. Twart, I'm probably not pronouncing his name properly. Twart was brought back. The comments in the newspaper were just off the page. And this was done by Kevin White, who's leaving, Mr. Valentino, and Commissioner Robertson. Not Grover. Grover and Marie Young Robertson voted against it. Yeah. And if you remember back, Mr. Twart resigned. There were and I don't know how a thorough investigation would come out, but there were allegations. There was concern about ethical impropriety. A lot of it came out in the News Journal, kind of double dealing and kind of working both sides of the deal, and he resigned. And then he wanted some special deal where he could get his pension, and that was turned down. And then he ran for county commission, and he came in 4th. He had some votes. And he had some votes. Okay. And now, when they've got an assistant administrator who could stay on and do a good job, they wouldn't have to pay him anymore till they hire somebody else, they bring in this gentleman at $130,000 a year plus benefits just in time to pass out the BP money. This is very scary. Red flag. Red flag. Why? Do not let any of them get a hold of the BP money. You have a really capable assistant administrator up there. He's going to be there at least long enough to get his pension from the public. Now, let's take a little vote. How many want to see this gentleman get more taxpayer money? Not me. Well, apparently the county commission does, so he can. Maybe it comes from the state, and that's somehow different. And you resign in the face of a threatened investigation and overt criticisms that you have conflicts of interest that have conflicted with your duty to your job. So you leave, stay gone, so there's no reason for an investigation. It's over. He's already resigned. Then he comes back by popular demand because he'll make according to the Valentine, he'll make a soothing transition because the staff loves him. What? Valentine, who are you talking to? This is an outrage. What in the world are you doing? And you know, the Valentine said that ethics count above everything else, and he voted to kick him out before. But now wait, there's been a realignment. What they say, politics made strange bedfellows. This is like, I don't know what kind of bed this is, but they're all in it. And just the public has a right to know, what are you doing, Mr. Valentino? What in the world are you doing? Can you give us some credible explanation for this conduct? And the fact that you have other people jumping up and applauding this and you're getting 3 votes,
What kind of message do you think that sends to a bright young man or woman with a family thinking about coming here to be a county administrator when they see this kind of conduct? And you fire Oliver for no reason at all. You fired Oliver. Never would tell us what reason you had. You didn't get along because he wasn't kind of handling your stuff right. It's disgusting. The county is going backwards 100 miles an hour, and the city's going forward about 50 miles an hour. So we got two things going on.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can't top some of the things that happened in the sordid history of the Escambia County Commission. This is certainly not the worst, but in my view, it really stinks. Although there is one prominent citizen who came out and thought this is just a wonderful idea.
Who?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mr. Baer in the newspaper came out in praise of this. This was great. He wrote an op-ed. And he also wrote an op-ed. Remember the Gibbs fiasco when Commissioner Robertson...
was that the same person?
It was the same person, yeah.
Louis Baer?
It was.
He said that the Gibbs fiasco...
He said this was this county commissioner doing the best job and putting the best person in there, and they're all wonderful people, and they all should be applauded rather than being criticized. And now this is another thing, which according to this gentleman, Mr. Baer, is just a fine idea, and all these wonderful people should be applauded, and we ought to just hold up on the criticism because the Ethics Commission didn't find anything wrong, I suppose. That was what happened last time. When the Ethics Commission finds that there's nothing wrong, we all have to shut up because they're all honorable.
And people really don't understand what the Ethics Commission is. It's got as narrow... their scope is about as wide as a gnat's hair, okay? And you have to fit within that tiny little scope before you can be found to have violated that little tiny scope ethics. It means nothing about being absolved of guilt and responsibility. But in this editorial, in the latest one that Bill's referring to, Mr. Baer says that the Pensacola News Journal, in essence, ran him out of office with unfounded allegations, et cetera, for which it does not appear that there's 1 ounce of credibility to that. And yet he did the same thing with Gibbs, the same kind of endorsement of Gibbs. I don't understand this. Why would somebody write that kind of endorsement of public officials when these public officials are doing things that are wrong? Why would anybody write that? Twice.
Stick up for your friends, I guess, is what's going on. But when your highest qualification for office is the Ethics Commission didn't get me, that's not a good standard. You're really able to do a little better than that.
You know what Mr. Tuart said in the past? He's been investigated many times and they've never gotten him. That's our people. They say, you know.
Well, he's doing business with this company, and they're not exactly doing business with them. It's kind of convoluted, and he's got a defense.
They never caught him. He's smarter than everybody else. I have no doubt about that. But, you know, really, he presided as the county administrator. He said, well, I didn't vote. I didn't have any votes. Well, he never made a recommendation to reduce the millage rate, your taxes. When they had so much money, they couldn't spend it. He said, keep it jacked up as high as we can keep it jacked up. When we were flooded with money back in 05 and 06 and 07, keep it jacked up so we'll load the coffers with cash and be able to do what we want to do. That's who you want as an administrator now, Mr. Valentine? That's what you want? That's who's going to be looking out for the taxpayers' interest? This is off the rails.
Yeah. If you had to make a list of people who you want to oversee, I mean, there could be, I don't know what the numbers are, large dollars coming from BP that the county gets to administer and spend and pass out. And if you had to make a list of people who should oversee this, I don't think this gentleman, Mr. Tuart, would be anywhere on the list.
And what interesting timing, okay?
Oh,
Wilson Robertson's going to get reelected. There isn't any question about that. Kevin White is leaving. And the Valentine was elected 2 years ago. I think his time was 2 years ago. So they're not going to be harmed by this. This is going to sail through, and we're going to take care of it. So somebody might make this argument. Well, it was only fair that he receive his retirement. Well, why didn't we have a public discussion of that? Why don't we go back and bring all of this back out, his connections to these people and everything? Why don't we do it all?
He resigned before it came around. Well, are we going to make extra efforts to make sure he gets more taxpayer money? That doesn't make sense in these lean times.
The Valentine has dealt a terrible blow to Escambia County, and it is a shame that they can't remove him from public office. It is a shame. And for him to make the statements he's made and him fostering this idea, which, by the way, Rick Outzen, he reported it a month ago, that they already cut this side deal out of the Sunshine. They made some kind, I'm not saying that they violated the Sunshine Law, but there was no public discussion of it. So, you know, A talks to B, B talks to C, C talks to D, and D talks to F, and A and F both vote. You can't ever trace those violations. But Rick Outzen said, he predicted it a month ago, Bill. He said, this is exactly the deal they've made. This is exactly the deal they've made. And the taxpayers are going to pay for it. We're going to pay more.
Count on it.
Pay more. And what we just need to have some explanation, some honest explanation. Who's really behind this? Well, we know we're getting a letter to a viewpoint from the editors, to the editors saying what a great idea it is. Yeah. But that's the only person I've heard that says anything about it.
Here's what we know. Favors are owed.
Whoo! Favors are owed. The good old boys are back. We've got some more stories about the invasion of the alpha males into perfectly legitimate and decent organizations, which they can't stand to be run the way they're being run, openly, honestly, fairly. The alpha males, they're going to get into them. We'll be back with that story. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Electoral College, too, with some thoughts about that when we return.
For over 30 years, we've had the privilege to live and work in this great community. Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson, representing accident victims across Northwest Florida.
Okay, welcome back. We have a couple of features here today, tonight, that we're going to talk about the 10 most irritating things that airlines and flight attendants do. That's coming up. We're also going to talk about the invasion of the alpha males into these perfectly nice organizations that now are fighting off the invasion of the alpha males. And then you were going to talk about the Electoral College.
I'd like to. We can start with that.
Sure.
When you had the 10 most irritating things by waiters, I wasn't 100% in support of that. But the 10 most irritating things that are done to you on airlines is good. Stay tuned for that.
I think the reason is you only eat in these really highbrow places. You don't eat in places like I eat.
I eat in the exact same places you do. Well, you and I are inflicted on each other about 3 times a week for lunch.
But I'm talking about evening meals when you go to these highfalutin places. See, I go to where the average person goes to, and I see these things. And when you walk in, Mr. Rankin, and they have a white cloth, and everybody's got 2 or 3 people hanging around you. I go, and I kind of have to fight for the menu.
When's the last time you ate in McDonald's? Where I eat about 3 times.
Do you?
I eat McDonald's about 3 times.
I think McDonald's menu is really improving. A lot more healthy things.
Yes, that's true.
They have great stuff for breakfast. Yeah. They've got yogurt and all that.
I go there for the fries.
You do for the fries. Well, they are the best. And you stay in pretty good shape. Bill's out rowing every morning in the bayou.
I get grilled chicken with leave the mayo off, a little lettuce and tomato on a roll, and nothing too bad about that. Though my wife will give you an argument about the chicken, and you get a little fries with that. It's really pretty good, and it's cheap and it's quick.
Why didn't you like the 10 most irritating things waiters do? Because I've gotten some very positive feedback about that. Well, in fact, some people have sent me some suggestions. And we're going to get ready. I think we could write a book about how irritating waiters are and wait staff and wait persons. And I'm Janie, and I'll be changing your bib and all this other stuff.
Can you sell that to the people who really can't afford to eat out more than about once a year?
Well, no, I probably
just on Mother's Day.
I probably can't.
And they're going to want to hear about how insulting their waiter's going to be.
Well, it does appear.
See, they're with me in McDonald's.
It does appear to be a problem of the wealthy, and I didn't mean it for that. I mean, that's when you do go out to eat, you don't want to run into any of these people that we run into all the time. Now, there's some nice people out there. They're good. There's some excellent waiters and wait staff, but they're just an exception to the rule. I mean, they are. They're an exception to the rule. Okay, most of them are terrible. All right, what do you got? What do you have?
Most waiters are terrible.
Now I go out in a restaurant, they won't wait on me anymore. But I don't know why. I just try to be constructive.
Well, he doesn't mean you.
No.
Well, let's do the Electoral College quickly. This is an easy sell.
Okay.
If you turn on your television or your radio, they're talking about the key states, the swing states, the battleground states. The statistics are the politicians. Obama has practically lived in Ohio, and Romney too. They're spending all this money in these key states. We've been afflicted by it because Florida is one of the swing states. And the reason for that is the way the Electoral College works. Your vote in Florida counts way more than your vote in New York, because New York's over. That's count all of those votes for Obama. Most states instruct their electors in the Electoral College to vote all or nothing. So if Romney wins the state of Florida, he gets all the Florida electoral votes. It is really an unfair and stupid system. Gore, I wasn't a big supporter of Gore, but he got 500,000 more of the popular vote than Bush did, and Bush got the election.
What about a hybrid?
Fair?
What about a hybrid system? What if the votes were split proportional to the votes cast?
Well, some states actually do that.
Ah, they do.
Yeah. What about just a popular election? The Secretary of State of each state says, you know, this person got this many votes, this person got that many votes. You go up to Congress, add them up, they can do that. Even Michelle Bachmann could do that. You put it on a calculator, and you say, aha, the most popular votes. You'd have it in the news the next day anyway.
And we would have.
And we're going to declare this person president, and we wouldn't have Bush v. Gore, and we wouldn't have swing states, and we wouldn't have. Some states don't get visited at all because everybody knows all their Electoral College votes are going for somebody, and that person gets all the votes.
I think
it's
I read
terrible.
In the last election, there were 22 states that the candidates did not visit, did not participate in, and spent no money. But I want to make a comment.
And the money is crazy.
The money's crazy.
In the 10 key states, they get all the money. And I saw a statistic, I couldn't find it, but a huge percentage of the money has been spent in these battleground states. Ohio is, I mean, they're focusing on Ohio. They're driving those people nuts. I'm sure they're all waiting for this to be over.
Except this.
And it is over by the time you see this.
Except this. In Northwest Florida, we don't have two parties. We have the raging right that controls all of the votes here. So, how much money is spent in Northwest Florida? In our economy, when we need the money for our media needs it, where our newspapers and our television stations, our radio stations, nada.
Well, you still get some of it because it's Florida. And a vote in Pensacola counts as much as a vote in Miami.
Yeah.
There are fewer people, but
come on.
Listen, the Republicans want to make sure Romney was here. John McCain's been here a couple of times.
I'm talking about money, real money.
But
it's dumped into the I-4 corridor.
Sure.
It's in the I-4 corridor.
They want to make sure that these Republicans turn out and vote. Yeah, that's
the I-4 corridor primarily.
That's what counts.
Because it's mixed. Okay,
right.
They're not dumping a lot of money in Miami, which predominantly goes Democratic. They're putting that money through the I-4 corridor.
That's what we've been told by some real political operatives who are involved in this. The I-4 corridor is it. That's where there's some dispute.
That's where Florida goes. All right, so.
Yeah. So the Electoral College is ridiculous. You know what? I mean, it's this archaic procedure, and I thought it was because, well, you know, back when our Constitution was passed, it took 30 days to get to Washington on a horse. You've got a different idea. But the electors don't really even have to vote for whoever got the popular vote. Really. They get picked. I mean, there's some things in place to make sure that they vote that way, but they don't always. In history, they haven't always voted the way they're supposed to. It's just a crazy system. It'll take amending the Constitution to do it, except there's a compact among states that they will vote for whoever won the popular vote. It's got to be if that will put them on top, and you got to get enough states together, and they're thinking about doing that. Well, I think we'd have a constitutional amendment to do away with it and put in a simple system where if you win one person, one vote. If you win the popular vote, you're the president, end of story, no Bush v. Gore.
But we can't pass any legislation in the United States Congress or the Senate. How in the world could you get this thing to the point where, what is it, is a majority of the states have to approve it? What percentage of the states?
It's 2/3 and 3/4 or something.
Okay.
To get it on the ballot from the Senate, you have to have a majority, and then it has to be a majority of the states, and I've forgotten the numbers to ratify it.
But how are you ever going to get something like that passed? In today's environment where there's there was a great thing on 60 Minutes last night, the split. Yeah, you've got people who are opposing the other side solely because it's the other side with no interest.
The only way it's going to work, here's something I read, that when George Bush won the election, even though he didn't win the popular vote compared to Gore, the Democrats wanted to change the system and the Republicans were against it. Now, if Obama wins with fewer popular votes, then the Republicans will want to change it. I mean, if all of our legislators in Washington get together and say, let's just get together and do this. This is wrong.
Good luck on them getting together. They can't
what should happen.
They can't get together to name a post office. I mean, it's pitiful. They can't get anything
That's actually
done.
the one thing they can do pretty well.
Well, maybe so. In fact, Ryan, that was one of the 2 bills he passed the whole time he was in Congress. We talked about that. He got a post office name, then he got a tax exemption for a company that makes arrows because he's a big bow hunter. That's your vice presidential guy. Oh, that's right. You're not for any of these people.
Well,
are you?
The thing I'm always hoping for, I mean, what if we would be way better off if we just said, we're going to give you your congressional salary, just don't show up. We're not going to do any of this. Because every time they meet, we get screwed worse. The government gets bigger, and we waste more money, and we give it away to people who don't deserve it, and we start more optional wars. Oh, that's the president.
Yeah.
Congress doesn't have any more role in that.
You made a good observation before we went on the air about the changing role of the president. We're really electing a king almost, aren't we now?
I think so. You know, the presidential race is very important. I think it's way more important than it should be. We should be picking somebody, the president, to preside over one branch of government. We should not be picking the person who can send your children off to war by himself, so far only him. We should not be picking the person who can change your immigration status. We should not be picking the person who sets the fuel mileage for your cars. We should not be picking the national buddy who's going to solve all your problems. We should be picking an executive to preside. And here is my key thought after reading about the progressive era. Your government does not love you. If you make the mistake of thinking that it does, it's a recipe for disaster. You know, everybody knows, well, Walmart's out for themselves and their stockholders. China is out for China. Morgan Stanley's out for Morgan Stanley. But the idea that these politicians are just out there to do good is just nonsense. It's been proven wrong time and time again. They help their buddies. They help themselves. They'll do whatever it takes. And we're not going to change human nature, but we can have a smaller, less intrusive government.
Don't you think we've had some great statesmen? I'm thinking in Florida. Reuben Askew and Leroy Collins and other nationally some really distinguished people.
We've had courageous people.
In public service.
Are you accusing me of overstating something?
A little.
I do it all the time.
No,
That's my MO.
The general point is good, but we do have statesmen. But now, in order to be elected, you have to appease these groups and take these positions.
Yeah.
You know, I heard
you can't be a statesman.
I heard a talk show guy on the local talk show radio come into the studio, and here's a comment he made about the left, the liberal left. The only issue they care about, the only issue is abortion. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care. I thought, you know, the discourse in this country and the morons on both sides cause me, you and I talked about this last week, cause you to be so repulsed by, for me, Ann Coulter and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham. It causes you to be repulsed by these people and say, okay, I'm not voting for your candidate. Where I said it last week, I thought Romney, I do sincerely, deep in my heart, believe Romney's the best person right now to be president of the United States. But the problem is this crazy, raging right runs off the middle people, and the crazy, loony left with Nancy Pelosi and those people run off the moderates to the right. This is all wacky, Bill.
Meanwhile, we're running deficits of $1 trillion a year, and we have a lot of problems. We should have recognized this when it happened. George McGovern died a couple of weeks ago. Now, George McGovern had some policies that even at the time, even when I was campaigning for him in 1972, I thought were somewhat wacky. I think he was going to pass out $1,000 to every man, woman, and child in the country. But he was a man of principle. I mean, his principles were left-leaning principles, but he was an honest-to-God war hero. He was just the most sincere, honest person you could ever find.
Bob Dole was another one.
Bob Dole was decent.
I think he was a wonderful leader of the Republican Party, and he forged all kinds of nonpartisan resolutions to probably a long list of those.
George Washington could have been king.
Yes.
George Washington, after 2 terms, said, "That's enough. I'm going to set the standard, and I'm leaving. I'm going to go back and be a farmer." And that's exactly what he did.
He did, indeed.
Wonderful.
All right, before we go to the break, we're going to pay tribute to some of the airline foolishness that we see from time to time. So we're going to give you our thoughts on the top 10 most irritating things airlines do, and let's call them what they are. They're stewardesses, okay, so you got some guys in there, you know, just token males. Why can't we go back to 21-year-old stewardesses? What's wrong with that, Bill? Okay, well, we'll talk about that when we come. All right,
That's terrible.
I mean, really.
Once you turn 30, you get kicked out of the job? Is that really what you think ought to happen?
If I ran the airline, yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Okay, and they make them wear
Hooters Airline, run by Bob Kerrigan.
And they make them wear these polyester suits and those flat black. Why can't we have 3-inch heels? What is wrong with that? All right, let's go back to the thing. Put it up there again. All right, here, number 10. Priority boarding includes everyone but you.
You didn't pay, you got to pay.
What everybody says, you know, you get a silver member, a gold member, a metallic member, a cheap gunmetal member, all of those people.
They all get on ahead of you.
They all go ahead of you. And then finally, when I'm one of 2 or 3 people, they say, all remaining passengers can board.
Right.
Well,
you got the women and children. Then we let all the servicemen on.
Oh, everybody's on. And then all the bins are filled. They're all filled because I'm not in the priority class. All right, let's go to number 9. All right, announcing a flight will be 20 minutes late every 20 minutes for hours and hours. Because right at the 20-minute thing, okay, I'll wait 20 minutes. I'll wait 20 minutes. Thank you. They said another 20 minutes. You get right to this. Okay, I'll wait another 20 minutes. Next thing you know, you've been there several hours. You think, well, I already got all this time invested in it. I can't leave. It's genius, okay? It's pure genius. Number 8, put it up. Number 8. Making you pay extra for any seat other than the middle seat in the last 3 rows. Every time you go online, that's all there is.
They're selling you everything.
Yeah, they got the 2 or 3 crummy seats next to the toilet. Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, you want a real seat?
You want an exit seat? You want an aisle seat? Now, in coach, they have, I forget what they call it, but there are seats with a little more leg room that you can pay an extra few bucks for.
What's the exit row?
And then you can pay, in some airlines, because I've done it, in addition to all the other stuff, you can pay a little extra to get on first. You know that priority boarding? So you don't even have to be silver or gold or medallion or bronze.
I didn't know that.
You can pay a little extra. And I kept thinking, the next thing I'm going to see on this screen on the internet is, for another $1.50, we're going to smile at you instead of being surly. I mean, anything you want some peanuts, 75 cents. Pay for it here.
Forget the peanuts.
No more peanuts.
After the peanut scare prediction, the gluten scare is coming. Anything that has any wheat near it, they're going to be pulling you off the airline. Somebody's going to be having some kind of an attack, and we won't be able to get any more crackers. All right, let's go to the next one, number 7. Bragging about an on-time departure, but they make you get on so long. You're waiting longer on the plane to leave. It takes to fly wherever you're going.
Listen, if they charge you to put your bags in the baggage department, everybody wants to bring their bag to save that $25, and then they're trying to stuff it in the overhead.
They are.
And then they're jamming up the line, and it takes a long time to load the people on. And what the airlines do is they'll have these huge airplanes, 200 people. There's 1 aisle.
Yeah.
The real big airlines sometimes have 2 aisles, but that's giving up valuable space. So you have 1 aisle. This plane is this long, skinny thing.
Yes.
And if anybody's in the aisle, that's it. Nobody gets by.
I want to ask you a question. We're going to go to number 6 in a minute. But can you imagine designing a movie theater like that? Okay, you have the exit rows blocked, and you're charging people to sit there. Okay, you got 1 aisle that's just wide enough, and a person that weighs 350 pounds can't get down it. They have to go down the aisle like this. It couldn't go down.
You get to sit in the exit.
No, all right, let's go to number 6. All right, number 6, requiring you to turn off your electronic devices. We wonder.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, you have that. Go with that.
Okay. They insist now And that's kind of in the nature of a totalitarian regime where everything is being run. Don't give me any crap that air marshals will jerk you off. Anything with an on-off switch, even the noise-canceling headphones or your Kindle or anything, doesn't transmit anything. Anything with an on-off switch, turn it on or off. Now, I suspect that a lot of people like me, you can really turn off your phone and you can kind of turn it off, you know? Well, lots of I just put it away. It's actually on. I've never been on a plane that crashed.
No.
Why didn't somebody say, well, the navigation lanes are pointing in the wrong direction. Somebody left a Kindle on. There are loads of Kindles left on. There are loads of phones left on.
Of course.
And everything else that they just don't see, and the planes don't crash. This is nonsense. It's just easier for the airlines to just say, you got to turn everything off.
And here's what they're afraid of. They say that somebody will have some kind of electronic device that they don't know about that will emit some kind of signal that someday might interfere with some electronic system on the airplane. That's what this is all about. Now, they haven't come up with one yet.
Wouldn't you like to see an explanation of what that is?
Yeah.
If I turn on this iPad and you put it in airplane mode, where it's not on the internet, it's not doing anything, it's just a bunch of little pixels and a battery. Yeah. How do you even detect the thing?
Well,
how would you know about it?
Yeah, I don't think you would ever know about it. And if it does all this bad stuff, wouldn't you rather have it operating? Not operating above 10,000 feet where you might run into another airplane, then down low where you can see better?
I think we could be pretty sure that it doesn't do bad stuff because loads of them are left on.
They're all left. Everybody's got everything's on. All right, we're going to go back with number 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll come back. All right, we're going to do 5. We're going to take a short break. This is really easy. I'm so tired of this. It's Jimmy's 12th birthday. We're so proud of him. Let's have a nice round of applause for Jimmy. So everybody has to clap on the airplane. And I've been there when they've sung happy birthday. It's too much. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us.
For over 30 years, we've had the privilege to live and work in this great community. Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson, representing accident victims across Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome back. We are talking about irritating things airlines do, and flight attendants, stewardesses, what they do that is so offensive and irritating.
Aren't there police that come and handcuff you if you make sexist comments? We haven't come that far yet?
I haven't seen them.
Watch out.
But do you think objective comments like I made are sexist comments? Or is a reality?
I think most people would judge them as sexist comments. They don't particularly bother me, but I just would like to disassociate myself from those comments.
You would?
Yes.
Well, you can. I mean, that's what this program's all about. If you
Cowardice.
Cowardice. Let's go to number 4. All right. Having all the passengers, listen to this, depend in the case of an emergency on the actions of an obese guy who paid extra to sit in an exit row so he can get out fast.
And why do people really want to sit in an exit row? I do because I've got long legs.
Yeah, but if you're
smart. Because they're really in the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a real good exit row would have nobody in it so you could exit.
Of course.
But we've got exit rows with large people in the way.
Of course.
I mean, there are a lot of things. If I can get away with like $9 or something, I'll pay extra for the exit row. But then you got to put up with the people who say, "You told me this," and I have to have your attention. You have to look at me.
Yes.
And I'd like to say I could listen a lot better if I didn't have to look at you. It's making me sick.
The stewardesses demand your attention. Sir, you will have to pay attention to me while I'm talking. Oh, yes. Now, let's see. I'm working for free, right? I have to do what you tell me with your 68 level IQ. I have to listen to what you're telling me to do, and I got to let all these people here who are going to be running over the top of me, trampling me. I got to help them get out.
They actually have to do it. I mean, they have to.
Have to do what?
They have to, by federal law, they have to give you these instructions. What I don't like is they seem to look at me. You know, are you capable of doing this? Are you capable of doing this?
Yeah.
And I want to say,
there may be an age
I'm
thing.
in better shape than all these other mopes around here. You're damn right I can do it.
But
you ought to pay me to be in the exit row.
But see, you immediately jump to this personal adaptation to the issue.
Exactly.
That is because you have long legs. You like to sit in the exit row. I'm telling you that there are people who buy exit row seats for the specific purpose of getting off of the airplane first if there's an emergency. That's why they're in the exit.
You think so?
Of course they do. Self-interest. Oh, I think
I never thought of that.
I'll pay the extra $20 so I can help Mary Jane with her polyester suit. Help everybody else off the
In order to get out first, you got to take the door off and throw it out.
Right, but then you have to stand aside and you have to help out the little old ladies.
Well, we know that's not going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. They sit on the exit row so they can jump out first.
No. In the case of a real emergency.
They wouldn't do that.
They're out.
But they're out. Of course they're out. But
I don't think even the FAA believes that.
I want to say this. When the stewardesses is talking to this guy who's about 3 sheets to the wind, ask him if he'll cooperate and help her when she's got her emergency problems. He said, oh, well, I didn't pick him. Who picked him? I was like, wait, there's a better person out here. There's a doctor over here. There's an engineer. There's even a Republican. There are people here who might help, okay? You're letting that guy get it? It's crazy.
Well,
they're running the airline like a budget.
Revenue.
It's like a cartoon or something.
That's all right.
And how many people would put seats in front of an exit? Who dreamed that plan
People
up?
will not pay to sit on the floor. You got to give them seats.
Let's go to number 3.
It doesn't happen that often.
No. Number 3, flight attendants who act like the plane is theirs. I need you to lower your shades. I need your seat backs upright and in a up-block position. I need your service items, whoever dreamed that crazy term up, I need your service items returned to me in the center aisle. No, you don't need anything, okay? How about just tell us that, give me your trash, okay? I said, now, I need this, I need that. I only have Coke or Pepsi. Well, or I only have one or the other. They always, I only have this, I only have it. No, you don't. You work for an airline. What is this? Let's get number 2 up here, okay? Bill's not going with this. Number 2, flight attendants who make stupid jokes. You've all heard it. Well, for all of you who are going to Chicago, we'll be arriving. No, we're going to Atlanta, where this other lady's about to faint because she doesn't speak English very well. She's trying to find her overhead thing that someone else has jammed in. She's trying to pull her stuff out. Trying to get out there because I'm not going to Chicago. All right, let's get number 1 up here. Number 1, flight attendants who talk down to you like you're a first grader. Now it's time for us all to turn off our cell phones. We had a judge one time who told the jury when they came back from lunch, he said, now I know when our bellies are full, we get a little naughty. We get like we're a little sleepy in the afternoon. I know how we are when our bellies are full. So listen, talk to these people. They paid. They paid a ticket, $600-800 to be talked to like you're in the first grade. We deserve more, okay? It's pervasive in the airline industry. They treat everybody like ignorant cattle or something in there. But you don't have these problems because you usually sit in the first class.
No, I don't sit in the first class.
Come
unless
on.
somebody else is paying for it. And we don't even do that. No, I haven't been in first class in a long, long time. It was at AirTran or JetBlue. They'd let you upgrade for like $50. I got in first class a couple of times for like $50 a leg. I bet on that.
Yeah, I actually get in first class quite often.
That just reminds me. You just told me about a trip where you went in first class.
Yeah, well, I have to be intellectually honest in this program. I can't just espouse a liberal position and then not disclose the fact that I do prefer to move up front with where I'm more comfortable. I have a little wider seat, okay? They call me by my last name, which is very nice, and they offer me a drink before we take off, okay?
That's important.
Sometimes I don't have to pay $7 for a beer, okay? See, you sit in the back, $7 for a beer. So,
well, you don't have to drink on airplanes. You have a beer when you get home.
Do you have anything else? Thank you very much. For those of you who want to send us a suggestion about irritating things airlines or flight attendants do, or irritating things that waiters or waitresses do please send them to us because I'll just give you this guy's first name, Harry. You all would know him if I gave you his last name, but sent me a really good suggestion or two about waiters, which we're going to do next week. So we welcome you to send your comments. Now, Bill, before, pardon me, we get into the invasion of the alpha males.
We're going to run out of time. We ought to do that now. Yeah. Well, what this is about, I'm sure you've heard about it. Impact 100 is a lot more than 100. It's a group of women who got together, and they all decided we'll each put in $1,000, and so we'll have that many $1,000 from our members, and then we'll have a really careful process to decide what charity it goes to. And they do certain things. I mean, they don't want to just do it for sustaining operations. They want to kind of get them started.
Projects.
And it has been, in Pensacola, this is a lot of money for a city the size of Pensacola. Wasn't it $700,000 they passed out?
Bill, #1 in the nation.
We have a great habitat and a great impact.
Habitat is fabulous.
$700,000 in Pensacola, and this is annually they do this. That's an impact. That's a heck of a charity. They choose the recipients carefully. They study them. They go over the books. They do everything. It's a fine organization. It's hard to find anything bad to say about it.
And they have committees that help people, nonprofits, set up their books correctly, get their proper boards in place. It is a fabulous organization of all women. But I'll tell you a little history about it, okay? Because I happen to know. I was in the presence of some dominant white males who were really panning the organization in its early days by caustic comments about, and the guys will be writing checks, kind of like they'll be out of the kitchen for a few hours and pretending to be important, okay? Well, what's happened is the guys are not involved. No guys are involved. That's why the organization is good, is they have no white males interfering with this, okay? I mean, that's really the key to the success of this organization. They're smart women who have shut off invasive alpha males from screwing it up. That's exactly that's why it's been so good.
How many alpha males would it take to screw it up and completely destroy it? Like if you showed up and started making speeches, would that be the end of it?
It could do it.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
Here's what the alpha males are going to do, and I'll give you some examples. They're going to try to invade the board by getting a friendly woman who will kind of help them with some project or something that they got their hands in. They're going to try to get their charitable organizations, whichever one they're championing at the moment, to kind of wangle their way in outside the normal process. These are all things that this fabulous organization is going to have to face if they're not already facing it. But here's what we've seen so far. 3 invasions of the alpha males have all failed. One was this guy who claimed that he had all this extra money from a charity and he was going to have Impact 100 help administer it. So at first it looked like it would be okay. They do a fabulous job being fair and thorough, and the money they put out does great things in our community. This is a huge success story, period, okay? Well, that fell on its face because the guy didn't come through with what he said he was going to do. But that was good, but that was the first indicator. That's kind of him, the alpha males are seeing something that's powerful and it's good. They don't like that because that's just, it makes them really nervous. The next alpha male invasion was this.
There's more.
They're offering a scholarship by an alpha male for somebody else. They didn't even want any scholarships. They don't have scholarships. They do, they'd want to set it up their own way. But the alpha male wanted to be involved and wanted his name there and wanted to be important and wanted to be part of this great organization. Caution to the women, you see a male showing up, you ought to kick him out of the door. Don't even let him come into your meetings. Don't let him come to anything. Finally, this. You ready for that? There's more. And I'll let you. Last week, you didn't give me much time. At the end?
That's true.
So I'm paying you back for last week. So finally, this.
Oh, that's good.
Number one, one of the most prominent male figures in the community decides he's going to offer huge personal support for this Impact 100. Didn't even ask for it, but he's going to offer support. He's going to hold a fundraising activity for it. And he's going to do it at the baseball park. And he's going to do it to help, just to help. You see how that works, Bill? The alpha male figures this out. If I offer a charitable offering, How could anybody question it or turn it down? And the next thing you know, they're kind of wangling their way in. And the next thing you know, they're kind of jointly working on something. Then they're on committees together. Then all of a sudden they destroy the whole organization. They don't want to destroy it. It's not that. It's just they can't stand to see anything that's really successful, especially run by women. It scares them to death, you know, and they're all Republicans. I finished my piece.
Probably are. Well, everybody here is a Republican. That doesn't mean anything.
Okay,
how is this different than that? What is it, the Augusta National Golf Course, where they don't let women, and the women are shrieking, "You don't let women in." Why is this different? You kind of like not letting men in.
No, they don't want to be members because they can't. It's Impact 100 is a women's organization.
Right. But that's what they say about the golf course.
Well, then
it's a men's organization.
Okay.
We don't have women because it's in our bylaws,
Right.
and you can't come in, you're a woman.
Okay, then Condoleezza Rice says, I want to be a member, and they finally say, okay, she wants to be a member. So alpha
Well, how is it different?
Then the alpha males won't stand up. They can't stand the exposure. Why not, if you're the big male, why don't you say, by golly, I want to be a member of Impact 100? You know what? Can't stand the ridicule, the embarrassment. You want to join an organization that's made up of women who are not barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, are actually making decisions, actually doing things that are smart as they can be. You want to be in that organization? Okay, no, you don't want to be that. No, I just want to control it kind of from the left.
Yeah.
Right wing.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, the truth is, anybody ought to be able to join with anybody. If you want to have an organization of just men or just Jews or just midgets or whatever the hell you want, you ought to be able to do it.
Private organization, sure.
Private organization. This is a fine organization.
With no government money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a fine organization. They do good things, and it's going well. They ought to just leave it the way it is.
It's going great. Just don't let the men get involved. They'll screw it up. You couldn't get 20 men together to each give $1,000 and work on a committee to give money away. Are you kidding me? 700 white males? There'd be a war, okay? There'd be constant manipulation. There'd be jockeying around.
Well, do you think some of the money would go to somebody's buddy?
There'd be corruption would just jump up on the number one on the agenda. This program and this organization is just spectacular. So I guess the caveat is just be careful. Okay? Be careful. Speaking of being careful, how are the Boy Scouts doing?
I don't know. That's a question came out of the blue. I'm not a Boy Scout.
I mean, the expose of all the files coming out about all the child predators and all that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you had an opinion about that.
I don't. I think the Boy Scouts would probably say in any organization you're going to have some weirdos, and you shouldn't besmirch the whole organization with a few.
What do you think about them not opening up their present files and things? They're saying it's all confidential, it can't be opened up, and they're trying to protect people's identity. These files that they opened up were back in the 70s, I think.
I'd have to think about it. You know, what rules, what laws, what standards apply? I just have to think about it.
Well, that's good. Think about that.
Certain files probably ought to be private. Certain things, they're not the government. They ought to open up government files eventually.
Next week, will you have an opinion about that, you think, about the Boy Scouts?
Probably not. No, I'll forget it. You can have one.
I was really interested.
I'll forget it.
I was interested in if you had a strong view about that.
I don't have a strong view. I mean, you can make an argument either way.
Well, I just want to thank you for all the kind things you've said about our elected officials, including the county commissioners and the police department and everybody else, and I know they appreciate your objective views about that. This is Within Reason. This program is broadcast once or twice a week, maybe 3 times in some places. We welcome your calls and comments, and we appreciate you watching. And good night, Mr. Rankin.
Good night.
We'll see you next week.
For over 30 years, we've had the privilege to live and work in this great community. Kerrigan, Estes, Rankin, McLeod, and Thompson, representing accident victims across Northwest Florida.